I think that the first relationship that we must rebuild is a relationship back to your brothers and sisters in the African diaspora. That we are in Africa, there in America, we have so many African Americans. We have so many Africans who grew up and their parents grew up in Africa and they sent their children to America. But they decided to stay in America. Some of the greatest minds are in the diaspora. And if you really, really read the text, Nehemiah was not from Jerusalem. Nehemiah was from the diaspora. Just think about it. Nehemiah, he wasn't born in Jerusalem. He was a product of Babylon slavery oppression, where they shipped him from Jerusalem to Babylon, and his mother was raised in Babylon and his grandmother was raised in Babylon. He had been shipped into slavery, and he had been in slavery for years, and all of a sudden he decided, after being in a far country, that it was time to come home. It was time for him to come and use his gifts and talents at home. And I remember last week I had the wonderful privilege of meeting with the ambassador of Kenya in the United States. And as we stood there, he challenged me. He said, how in the world, Ricky, do I get in with the Congressional Black Caucus so that I can use the influence that they have back at home? And even then we started processing. How in the world do we use these brothers who are in the diaspora? And how do we use the influence that they have and bring them back home, back to the land in which we came from? How do we be just like this wonderful man Nehemiah and begin to use those relationships? You see, the reality is the relationships in the diaspora helped fund the project in Jerusalem. And I want to say this to you this morning, that you've got brothers and sisters all over the world that God can use in a mighty way to partner with our brothers and sisters in Kenya to say, how can we work together and how can we be together? I think another relationship that we must begin to make sure that we process. I think it's your relationship with one another. If you read this wonderful passage, you see that, and within all these pronouns, they are trying to build this relationship with one another. And one of the tragedies could always be that you have relationships to the diaspora, but you don't have relationships here at home. And you know there are tensions in relationships. I know Your Excellency knows about tensions in relationships. But here's the thing about relationships. All of us say that we follow Jesus. But some of us can be pretty disrespectful and pretty mean. All of us say, we can read the verse in John 13 where Jesus says that they will know that you're my disciple by your love for one another. But when we get angry with one another, we don't love each other very well. And so I remember in Washington, D.C., I was walking down in the lower level of the Capitol. And I had a Republican brother. He was a white brother. And he was a Republican. And I remember when I saw my Republican brother, we greeted each other with a hug. And we talked for about 10 minutes. And as we carried on a conversation with my Republican brother, I looked to the side and I saw a brother from the opposite party coming, an African American Democrat. So I told my brother, Lee, why don't you stay here with my Republican brother while I go over and while I have a conversation with my Democrat brother. When I left, I could tell the pressure he felt. So when I returned from the conversation and I started to talk to my Republican brother, he asked me, was I one of them? And I asked him, well, what is one of them?